उसके नाते भी सर एक बार आपका फिर स्वागत।
थैंक यू।
और अब मैं आपका परिचय कराना चाहूंगा सर सभी पार्टिसिपेंट के साथ। प्रोफेसर अजीत सिंह जी earned his PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and wrote his doctoral thesis on European experimental theatre and Indian theatre. He has been teaching as assistant professor since August 2008 in the Department of English, Bhagat Phool Singh Mahila Vidyalaya, Khanpur, Kalan, Sonipat. His teaching experience ranges from undergraduate to postgraduate level, covering various fields of literacy studies like contemporary literacy theory, Indian poetics, cultural studies, and Western literacy and criticism. He has been actively involved in guiding research and other academic activities. As an academic, along with the intensive teaching work, he has been doing research work in terms of publishing research article in different research journals and presenting research paper in different national and international conferences. He has presented his research paper based on comparative study of Indian theatre and Brazilian theatre in IFTR 2017 conference, Sao Paulo, Brazil. As an invited speaker, he has also participated and presented his papers in another two important conferences, IFTR 2018 conference in Belgrade, Serbia, and LMU Munich, Germany. In July 2019, participated in IFTR 2019 Shanghai, China, and presented his research and chaired one of the technical session in the conference. Recently invited to participate and chair one of the technical session in ADSA 2020 annual conference held in UNSW Sydney, Australia. With this, I welcome you, sir, in today's session.
Thank you.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pawan Kumarji, for introducing me to this group. And before I start my talk, I would like to say thanks to Dr. Shefali for giving me this opportunity, and I'm truly honored to be part of this academic program. Before I start, please excuse me for 1 minute, because I think there is some problem in the internet connection. So I have to fix it. Just 1 minute, please excuse me, and I'll join you just after 1 minute time. Yeah, sure.
No issue, sir. Take your time.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Great. Sorry for this technical problem, but I suppose, I hope it will continue properly. So uh, I have been told that it's a group of teachers who have recently joined academics, and it's a mixed kind of group from different disciplines. So so that's why the topic which I have taken for my talk is creative expression, basically. Because creative expression nowadays in academics it's a much used term, because most of the universities, not only in India but all over the world, now they have established departments of creative writing, and they are offering courses, UG and PG courses, and even some doctoral programs that they are running on creative writing. But deliberately, I have used the term creative expression because writing in contemporary times, as far as my understanding is concerned of the contemporary times, writing basically captures a very little space in the creative expression of contemporary cultures or contemporary societies, because in this age of digital technology, you see, writing captures a very little space, because other forms of expressions are also available, which have become more pertinent in the contemporary cultural scenario. So that's why I have used the term creative expression rather than creative writing. Of course, it's all about creative writing per se, but I have used the term creative expression. But before I I I I go to this word creative expression, I would like to say a few words on writing. What is writing basically? Writing as a concept. I'm sure all of you are aware of the word writing. In general linguistic expression, there are four basic skills are known, very much known to everybody: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And these four skills basically consist of two groups. Listening is related to speaking the same way in the same way reading and writing are related to each other in the same way. So so uh, uh, I'm sure all of you are aware of the fact that basically the purpose of all these four skills, like reading, the purpose of reading, what is the purpose of reading? If we ask somebody, uh, uh, I'm sure, you see, you will have a uh, uh, different kinds of statements or answers about this question. But conceptually, basically, or essentially, if we say, as a concept of linguistic expression, as a skill of linguistic expression, reading the purpose of any reading, whatever kind of reading, you see, arbitrarily it has been divided in different categories. Different types of readings are also available. But basically, any kind of reading is the purpose of any kind of reading is comprehension, to understand whatever is written is there. And and the purpose of writing, any kind of writing, though writing has already been, I have used creative writing, academic writing, technical writing, different kinds of writings are there. People have they have categorized writing in different categories. So any kind of writing basically uh, 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 basically uh, 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 consist of one single purpose, that is communication. Only. And you see, and you this technical difference between not technical, but I would say technical, or I would say arbitrary it has been arbitrarily subdivided into different categories: academic writing, creative writing, and people are running, you see, training courses on academic writing, technical writing, and all that. That is happening in in uh, uh, in in academic institutions. But for my understanding, uh, uh, I do not consider, I do not subscribe to such kind of arbitrary division between all such kind of uh, writings, because when you discuss something as an academic subject, why, you see, academic why see, if you look at the concept of academic writing, you see, what comes to your mind? What is academic writing? Academic writing, if I have to explain it, so I would explain it like this. uh, any, you see, any form of knowledge, any form of knowledge that has been created as a text to to impart, or to disseminate knowledge, to disseminate information, or to educate people. That is the purpose of any, you see, any kind of writing, and that is the purpose of all kinds of writing. So for me, this arbitrary that's why I've called it's an arbitrary arbitrary division. It is not essential, it is not essential. So that's why I call it's an arbitrary division. So I don't subscribe to such kind of division. uh, as far as creative writing is concerned, or creative expression for that matter, I have already told you, since creative expression, because different societies, different cultures in the world, they express themselves in in specific forms which have been evolved by them creatively. Some of them, you see, when you look at the the culture of a specific society, you will find how people express themselves creatively throughout the ages. In their, you see, in throughout the ages, how they have developed different forms of expression, some art forms, or some linguistic forms, or the kind of talk. And you see, you find, you will have a different forms in each society and in each cultural group. So that's why uh, uh, this the whole field of creative expression, the full field of creative writing, basically in contemporary times, it has been discussed, it has been separated from the other kinds of discourses that are available, and which those discourses are also creative. I don't think any kind of discourse, any kind of communication is without an element of creativity in it. Nothing can be happened, nothing can be constructed without an element of creativity in it. So but as far as today's academia or the scholarship is concerned about creative writing or creative expression, they have separated it from the other existing discourses, except certain forms of expression like literature, arts, theater, or all such kind of you see, forms of expression that comes under, only these expressions comes under creative expression. But it's not so. This is not so. I do not agree. But uh, because I have attended a couple of lectures on this concept of creative writing. And uh, uh, I was curious to know what kind of content basically these people uh, try to disseminate, or try to you see, how the people belonging to this field of creative writing basically codify the contents in the form of curriculum or this syllabi for creative writing. So I was quite curious, but unfortunately, uh, mm, uh, uh, I didn't find anything new or uh, something that has not been discussed, something that has not been conceptualized earlier by human beings or in different traditions, intellectual traditions of the world. I didn't find anything new because I belong to the field of literature and theater, so that's why I have read about you see the creative expression existing in different forms, not only in India but in the other traditions of the world also. So that's why uh, I. I have just asked that person. I would not name that person, but the scholar has delivered a lecture on creative writing. I have asked the same question. Gentlemen, these things have already been discussed, have already been said, had and philosophized and conceptualized thousands years back in Western tradition as well as in Indian tradition. So nothing, I didn't find nothing new, or I would say it like this. This is again like putting the old wine in new bottles, like you can see like this, putting old wine in new bottles, because I uh, 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 because poetics I have been trained in poetics, basically in philosophy of literature, basically Kavya Shastra. So poetics is an ancient art. It's an ancient subject of knowledge. And uh, along with poetics, poeticians, not only in India, Indian intellectual tradition, and as well as the Western intellectual tradition, poetics has been discussed along with the rhetoric. Along with the rhetoric, though this division of rhetoric and poetics has not uh, earphone cable from touching your jacket. Okay, okay, sure. uh, does it echo? I'm not audible. Now, is it okay?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Uh, so this division, this separation between poetics and rhetoric doesn't exist in Indian intellectual tradition. But 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 I do not say that the has been poetics has been developed along with the rhetoric, and of course without uh, without separating it from poetics. But in Western tradition, like if you look at uh, the treatise, the most famous treatise of Aristotle, the famous Greek philosopher of 3rd century BC. He has written poetics along with rhetoric, separate philosophical treatise of rhetoric, and where he defines rhetoric like this. Uh, uh, and even before, I would like to read from Plato, his master. He has also defined rhetoric. Rhetoric is basically it's the art of persuasion. It's the art of persuasion. uh, Plato was the 4th century BC Greek philosopher, and he said that rhetoric is the art of enchanting the soul. Rhetoric is the art of enchanting the soul. So the art of winning the soul by discourse. That means the art of winning the soul by discourse. And Aristotle, in his rhetoric, has defined rhetoric like this: it is the faculty of discovering in any particular case all of the available means of persuasion, all uh, all of them available means of persuasion. This is the art of persuasion, basically. It is the faculty. It is the faculty. It is something. It is something inside human. You see, inside human being, an element of creativity that helps the person to know how to express himself or herself in the best possible manner to create the best possible impression over the person who is listening to you or your audience. So so uh, and uh, he has described three main forms of rhetoric. You see, that these are the three main forms of rhetoric according to Aristotle. These are ethos, pathos, and logos. These are the three Greek words basically corresponding to three three essential aspects of human existence. Basically, the human existence basically exists in these three dimensions. Basically, ethos basically is refers to the ethical or the moral element. Second, pathos refers to the emotional element, and logos basically refers to the logic or the rational element. You see, in any discourse, in any talk, in any expression, these three are the forms. These three are the ways that we convince somebody ethically, morally, emotionally, or logically. These are the only three possible forms of you see rhetoric according to Aristotle. So you see, it's a creative writing. Talking about creative writing, as you see, is not a new subject. It's not a new thing. And as far as Indian intellectual tradition is concerned, I would talk about Indian intellectual tradition later, in the later part of my talk. But first I would focus on the Western tradition. So as you can see, that that rhetoric or the creative writing is not a new subject. It's an ancient subject. It's an ancient art, and it has been philosophized, it has been conceptualized, and the categories of its analysis have been already propounded by the philosophers and the rhetoricians and the politicians in the ancient times. And people nowadays, they have discussed it without its essential categories. And unfortunately, I that's why I do not agree to this division of writing, academic, technical, or like this. And people have you see, they have divided this uh, this division uh, this division they have created, like this. I was reading something on the technical and the technical writing and creative writing, and the five basic points which I have read about the difference between uh, between technical writing and creative writing. Technical writing is basically factual. It is factual. It is based on facts. And creative writing is fictional, basically fictional or imaginative. Uh, though I do not agree to this, because you see, no writing, nothing in this world uh, can be written or can conceptualized without the help of imagination. Let me tell you, nothing can be conceptualized in this world. No idea can occur can be occurred in to human mind without an element of creativity or an imagination. So this is, again, I do not agree, but this is how people have basically uh, create divisions. Second is the technical writing is informative. Technical writing is informative, and on the other hand, creative writing is provocative. My God! So this is the difference people have perceived. Uh, you see, any kind of uh, you see. if you read any philosopher of the world, the purpose of any text, any knowledge text, is in 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 both the traditions. I'm talking about Indian as well as the Western tradition. In both the traditions, the purpose of all the text, any text, knowledge text, basically is instruction as well as entertainment. These are the two primary purpose of all forms of expression or all forms of knowledge. So provocative, I don't understand the word provocative here. Third is the clear. It is clear or precise and straightforward technical writing. And while this the creative writing is figurative, or sometimes even they have said it is vague. Why? Have you ever thought about this idea or this question, that why creative writing is considered as vague or figurative? Why does a poet say something indirectly, not directly, in a very suggestive way? You see, you can say, one can express an idea directly, but there are other ways of saying that thing metaphorically, not to create some obstacle in the communication, but to make it more effective, to say whatever your message is. You want to make your message more creative, more effective. That is why you say, or a poet say it metaphorically. And you see, the whole uh, 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 Indian movies, Hindi movies, whatever the hero wants to say, the hero wants to say through a song. The song is sung by somebody else, playback singing. It's a kind of poetry that has been being performed, and the hero is also performing. So it's an indirect way of saying, but to create a specific impression over the audience. So this is not the purpose. Basically, this is the division is not right. Another is it is objective and it is subjective. Technical writing is objective, and creative writing is subjective. Again, this division of subjective and objective do not exist in academic world or in the intellectual world. Let me tell you, nobody whosoever has a consciousness can become completely objective. An inanimate thing can be objective, but somebody who is alive, who has some senses, cannot become completely objective. So this is, I don't understand this division. Another is a special vocabulary, general vocabulary. The technical writing, the academic writing has basically it uses specific vocabulary, or the register, because vocabulary, again, it's a it's a very wide subject. Many things can be said about uh, uh, about the use of vocabulary in technical and creative writing. And uh, another uh, another point which I have observed about creative writing nowadays, the scholars of creative writing, they discuss discuss in academics uh, as a content of their uh, mm, talk, or content of their paper, articles, or their research. They most of them discuss poetics. Poetics means the Kavya Shastra, basically. Uh, you see, the diction, imagery, the kind of rhythm, prosody, and all that metaphors, and all the categories of analysis that pertaining to poetics only, But I have specific objection to this uh, to this uh, to this categorization of creative writing, or scaling down, basically scaling down creative writing to poetics only, because rhetoric is another equal important art that has been developed throughout the ages simultaneously along with poetics. So that's why I have said that this is not a new, this creative writing is not a new field. It's an old art. It has already been discussed, and the fundamental principles of its of this art has already been propounded in different treatises, philosophical treatises. These are available. I have told you that Aristotle has written rhetoric, and you'll find each and everything that he has discussed. He has discussed the whole area, the whole subject of rhetoric, or whole subject of saying something, of communicating something effectively in three dimensions. I have told you that he has he has he has captured human existence in these three dimensions: ethos, pathos, and logos. And uh, apart from Aristotle, after Aristotle, in Western tradition, we have this Italian, sorry, the Roman rhetoricians, and the most important Roman rhetorician was Quintilian. Quintilian, he was the second century AD. He has written very important treatise on rhetoric, or the art of oratory. It is called Institutio Oratoria. Institutio Oratoria. That's a Latin expression. It has been composed in Latin, but it is called in English Institute of Oratory. Institute of Oratory. He has defined rhetoric as rhetoric is the art of speaking well. Rhetoric is the art of speaking well, and or good man speaking well. Now, we have here we have two different concepts. One is speaking well, but who speaks well? Who can speak well? A good man, the man who has the virtuous man also includes women. Basically, in those days, the gender discrimination was not there. This such kind of vocabulary was not available. So here, man stands for human being. So, uh, a, a good man, the virtuous man who has virtues. Before you speak, before you speak something, you must have something to share. If you do not have something to share, what will you speak? What is the use of your command of language or the communication skills? This is very important. So Quintilian believed that knowledge was not inherent and could only be acquired through proper education. I caught Quintilian from Institute of Oratoria. That is, knowledge exists but must be attained through proper training and learning. Quintilian believed that the proper training one must undertake to possess knowledge is the art of oratory. Another very important rhetorician of and I'm sure all of you must have heard his name, Cicero. Cicero. Cicero was also a very important rhetorician of ancient Roman time, Roman era. He defined rhetoric as rhetoric is one great art comprised of five lesser arts that are inventio, dispositio, eloquitio, memoria, and pronunciatio. Basically, these are the Latin expressions, and as the name basically refers to, they have been adopted in English in the same way. Rhetoric is speech designed to persuade. It is the speech that is designed to persuade. It is not to motivate somebody. It is not to stimulate somebody. It is not to uh, to tell a lie to somebody, or uh, to uh, to deceive somebody. No, it is the speech that is designed to persuade somebody. That is the purpose of education, basically the purpose. You see, any kind of writing that you do in your academic career, of course, whatever kind of research you do in your own respective disciplines, you put it down in on paper or in the form of on digital form on your computer. you you put it into words or in some graphics or in different forms of expression. But why do you put, what is the purpose of putting down your research or your ideas or your creative thinking into the form of a text? The text can be in the form of a page written, an article or a book, or a form of performance, or a form of dance, form of a singing, anything. These are the forms of expression. And I'm sure all of you are teachers, and you deliver, you think, you speak, you talk to your students, you talk to your colleagues, you sometimes you write, sometimes you speak. But what is the purpose? What is the purpose? You persuade your audiences, basically. You persuade your audiences basically to do, to understand, to interpret, to think, etc., etc., basically. So this is how you design your speech. Whatever the best way you think, as per your thinking, you design your speech. And this is called it is the speech designed to persuade. So that's why this is fundamental principle of rhetoric or the creative writing. From here it starts, basically. And you see, the most important, let me come to my basic point, which I would like to discuss it with you. The most important point, where poetics and rhetoric basically combines and juxtaposed by one and only one philosopher in Western tradition, that was Longinus. 2nd century BC, Greek philosopher Longinus. Nothing is known of Longinus. Who was Longinus? Only a treatise, only a philosophical treatise he has composed is available, and it has bear his name, Longinus. Nobody knows anything of Longinus. Who was Longinus? So he has composed a book or a treatise which basically juxtapose poetics and rhetoric, basically. And as the title of it is entitled as on the sublime, the concept of sublime. Basically, with this concept of sublime, basically this concept of sublime basically juxtapose or combines or unite poetics and rhetoric, and what we call it is the creative expression. And the soul of creative expression is sublime, or the sublimity, basically. And it's a second century BC text. And unfortunately, people who have been working in the field of creative writing do not subscribe to or refer to the text. Unfortunately, basically, in the first chapter, the whole text consists of 44 chapters. It's a short, concise treatise. It's not a bulky text of 1,000 pages. It's not more than 20 pages. The text is not more than of 20 pages. So it's a short, concise treatise. In the very first chapter, Longinus says, I quote, there are two things essential to a technical treatise. This is how he starts. There are two essential things to a technical treatise. The first is to define the subject. Nowadays, people writes book. They are writing and writing articles. They are writing books, bulky books, 1,000 pages, and unfortunately, you do not find a single definition, satisfactory definition of the subject which they have taken. And still, you find people writing bulky books, unfortunately. But this is how the present, the contemporary academia goes on. So, first is this is the most important point which he has made in the very beginning of his treatise. He has said, first is to define the subject. Second, the second important point, how and by what methods we may become masters of it ourselves, about specific subject, about specific art, about specific skill you want to write. First, you need to define it, and after defining it, you need to tell methodologically and very empirically how to master this art, how to acquire, how to attain this art. If you cannot talk about it, and your whole research, your whole writing does it is not of any help to anybody. Let me tell you, it confuses basically its readers and even you. So that's why here in the very beginning he has said these two things. Next, in the next chapter, he defines sublime. What is sublime? I'm sure any of you can you I'm sure all of you are there. 42 participants are there. Any one of you can tell me something on the concept of sublime. Have you ever heard this term sublime? What is
Yes,
sublime?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Something which is very great, something which is of high value,
Something which is of
something which is of very high estimation, very great,
okay,
elevated,
great.
elevated,
Right.
lofty.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, exactly. Very good, Suresh. Yes. Absolutely. So, thank you, Suresh. Uh, uh, Now, what is sublime? Basically, this is how he defines. Here, Longinus defines sublime. Sublime, wherever it occurs, consists in a certain loftiness and excellence of language. It consists in a loftiness and excellence of language, and that it is by this and this only that the greatest poets and prose writers have gained eminence and won themselves a lasting place in the temple of fame. A lofty passage does not uh, convince the region of the reader, but takes him out of himself, but takes him out of himself. This is how the 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 concept of sublime basically influences the reader or its audience. It takes him out of himself. Basically, this is how the kind of influence it creates on its audiences. Basically, next, to believe or not is usually in our own power, but the sublime, acting with an imperious and irresistible force, sways every reader whether he will or no. Skill in invention, lucid arrangement, and disposition of facts are appreciated not by one passage or by two, but gradually manifest themselves in the general structure of a work. But a sublime thought, if happily timed, illumines an entire subject with the vividness of a lightning flash and exhibits the whole power of the orator in a moment of time. So with this definition, though it's a long definition, but I have got it exactly from the text. Here, basically, Longinus seems to capture the essence or the soul of the creative expression, why a creative expression is usually constructed by a creative writer through its his or her creative imagination. Because you see, only if the element of sublime, the sublimity is not there, it is of no use. Let me tell you, it cannot create the impression or the influence which is required, basically the required impression. So this is the soul, the soul or the essence of the creative writing. One must focus on the concept of sublime in any creative expression. I'm talking about creative expression. Creative expression means anything, whatever you say, it has to have an element of sublimity. And what is sublimity? I have already told you. It's a certain loftiness and excellence of language. Language doesn't here. He doesn't mean language means he doesn't have a very narrow concept of language. Language doesn't mean writing only. Language means the whole you see the whole metrics of human, the whole metrics of human communication, basically. How does human being communicates with this entire universe? Basically, it is language. It is through language that may be in any form, that may be possible in any form. So so this is and a certain loftiness and excellence, and it does not sublimity, the concept of sublime, does not satisfy the region of the reader or the audience. Rather, it takes him or her out of himself or herself. This is how it creates its influence over uh, its audience, spectator, or the reader.
Sir, I have a point to make, sir.
Yeah, sure. Please.
Sublimity, as you are talking about that sublimity, sublime means the excellence of language. So I believe that it is not only the excellence of language, it also includes the excellence of the subject. The subject matter should also be very excellent and lofty, elevated.
You see, I'm talking about the creative expression, basically, and subject. You are talking about the subject. Subject doesn't come from outside. It comes from the mind or the imagination of the reader, of the writer or the composer. Okay, subject is not something that comes from outside. You see, it subject has also been created by the composer, by the writer, by the performer. Okay, am I correct? Okay, good. So now the next point Longinus has made in his treatise. He has said that the first question which presents itself for solution is whether there is any art which can teach sublimity or loftiness in writing. He has discussed this point. It's a technical treatise, and in an empirical way, he has in a very structural way and very scientifically, basically, he discussed it, and of course philosophically and technically also. He has discussed it in this treatise, and of course he offers a method, a scientific method, how to acquire it, how to attain this. And I think this treatise is enough for anybody who works in the field of creative writing, because whatever he has said, whatever he has discussed, they, you see, in the contemporary times, most of the people they talk in the same terms which he has invented for his analysis and for his discussion of the sublime. And the first question he has he asked And then he answers himself that, is there any art that can teach somebody uh, the sublimity or this loftiness in writing? He quotes from Demosthenes' remark with regard to human life in general, that the greatest of all blessings is to be fortunate. But next to that, and equal in importance, is to be well advised. It is very important. It's very important. For good fortune is utterly ruined by the absence of good counsel. Here he is referring to the two sources available for human beings to attain the loftiness or the sublimity in his or her creative expression. One is the natural talent, the inborn genius, the pratibha. The Indian term is pratibha, the innate faculty. And without good counsel or without good advice, you are tend to lose it. So you see, he's referring to that both the two sources. One is from nature, another is from training or from art. So both two sources are important for creative expression, to get sublime creative expression. Next he says, speaking generally, it would seem that bombast is one of the hardest things to avoid. Now, next he has a list. He has enlisted or enumerated five obstacles, basically, in getting the sublime expression. Basically, one should avoid these five obstacles. One is the bombast. Basically, bombast. It is here said, it is the hardest thing to avoid in writing. Basically, it is the hardest thing in creative expression, because you see, one never knows or you see become aware of the fact that when his or her expression becomes bombastic or divert from digress from the main track, it's very hard. It is one of the hardest thing to avoid. Second is the puerility. Basically, it's a pedantic habit of mind. Everybody, it's human nature. Whatever one knows, he or she has to express it in a you see, in a what you call, in a disproportionate way, in a more disproportionate way. Whatever you knows, you try to boast of your learning just to create an impression. So that is called, it's a pedantic habit of mind. But pedantic habit of mind means you just you always try to create an impression of a very learned person you are, a very learned and a scholarly person you are. So it's a second hardest thing to avoid in creative writing. Third is the false emotions. Fourth is the frigidity. And all these four improprieties, they have common source, just the pursuit of novelty in thought. Just these four obstacles have been you see have become a part of your personality or your faculty, because you want to say something new. Everybody wants to say something extraordinary, something new, something that has not been said. I don't know why. It's a common human tendency. Everybody wants to be unique. Everybody wants to say something that has not been attempted by anybody. Everybody. So, and it creates the whole problem. It creates the whole difference, basically, and it takes that person away from the sublime expression. And he doesn't know. He could not. He doesn't know when he or she separate himself or herself from the sublime expression, and it just happens. Uh, when what is true sublime, further he says that when a passage is pregnant in suggestion, when it is hard, nay impossible to distract the attention from it, when it takes a strong and lasting hold on the memory, that we may be sure that we have lighted on the true sublime. In general, we may regard those words as truly noble and sublime, which always please all readers. For when the same book always produces the same impression on all who read it, whatever be the difference in their pursuits, their manner of life, their aspirations, their ages, or their language, such a harmony of opposites gives irresistible authority to their favorable verdict. So this is the true sublime. Basically, the effect of true sublime is I have already discussed it in the previous definition, previous quotes from Longinus himself. This is the basically the nature of true sublime. Now, I have told you that in the very beginning of his discourse or his discussion, Longinus puts his focus, puts his emphasis on the question that is there any art, is there any training that is available for us to teach the sublimity or the loftiness in writing? So yes, his answer is yes, there is, there are 5 sources available to us. He enumerated 5 different sources of sublimity. And sublimity, I have already told you, is the essence of creative writing. If your expression do not have the element of sublimity, it is of a very ordinary kind of expression, ordinary kind that cannot create the slightest impression or the influence over its readers. So I'm sure the people who are working in creative writing must be aware of the fact, or must be conscious of this aspect of creative writing, because creative writing basically is is there to create strongest possible impression through your expression. If you do not have this purpose in your mind, why do you want to create things? Why do you want to say something, say whatever you want to communicate in an extraordinary way or in a creative way? Why? Because only because of this purpose. So the essence of I have made my point that that sublime is the soul of creative writing, and 5 sources of sublimity are there. He enumerated these 5 sources. I'll read these 5 sources from as it is from Longinus. First is grandeur of thought. Grandeur of thought. Basically, it arises from native greatness of mind, from imitation, and from the employment of images. Second is a vigorous and spirited treatment of the passions. And I would stop here, because these 2 sources belong to nature. You cannot get these 2 sources from anywhere in this world. Only nature gives it to you. If you have the ability, if you one cannot be trained in getting great great thoughts, or in getting the experiences of greatness from anywhere, from the ordinary world. You see, I'll give you the example. I'll illustrate this point with an example. Everybody, it was a common human experience for everybody watching falling apples from the from the tree. but it doesn't occur to anybody's mind what is the you see the concept of gravitational force. It was Newton's mind who captures this idea of gravitational force from this common experience. It was not a common experience for him as it was for everybody. So you see, you cannot train people in thinking great thoughts, because if you are soul, if you are made, if you have been blessed by God, if your soul is so great, if your soul is so comprehensive and inclusive, then you can have, you see, great thoughts and experiences from anywhere. So this is the grandeur of thought. It's a and uh, but two things he also here, and the people generally people, I have explained it in detail, but generally people call it genius, inborn talent, or pratibha, innate faculty, that cannot be given by anybody. It nature nature gives it to you. Second, of course, he has said, though if somebody who is aharya buddhi, means of meager intellect, buddhiman, uh, uh, very intelligent person doesn't need training. The intelligent person, you see, perceive impressions from anywhere. But a Harya Buddhi, or of a person with a meager intellect, needs training, or the company of a good teacher or a good trainer. But the person has the ability. He has the element, but the person needs certain kind of training. If that person gets the training, that person may get some kind of inspiration from anywhere. So if you read, if you focus on great thoughts, if you read, if you look at, if you experience great performances, so of course there are chances that your soul also, you see, perceive or acquire or attain or imbibe the same kind of greatness from those performances, at least some element. I'm not saying that you will become just like them, but if you read Plato instead of reading Chetan Bhagat, I'm sure you are tend to get your mind. But I'm not comparing these two intellectuals, but I've just said, because one is a great you see, thinker, philosopher, who has created the kind of knowledge which is till date surviving, and people are doing some research or over it, and the another person who has talked about the existing socio-political circumstances, and I'm sure that knowledge will be uh, uh, you see, it will become outdated with the passage of time, but that knowledge cannot become outdated with the passage of time, because the, the kind of concepts he has developed or propounded, they are transcendental. They transcend temporal and spatial boundaries. And that was the greatness of the person, that was the greatness of the mind. And if you experience that greatness, and I'm sure you are tend to learn, at least an element, at least a part of that greatness. So that is called the imitation. From imitation you can also learn some, you are tend to get some kind of grandeur of thought. So first is the grandeur of thought. Second is a vigorous and spirited treatment of the passions. Everybody, every human being has a baggage of passions. We are all, as human beings, are capable of experiencing different emotions and different passions in different situations of lives. But the intensity with which we experience those passions are unique to every human mind. You see, in a particular situation, I got angry, you got also angry. You may not get angry, but if I get angry, but again, if we both of we get angry, the 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 intensity, intensity of the emotion, I'm sure would be different. So it is very natural that those great souls who whatever kind of emotions, whatever, but do they have, but the kind of intensity, the kind of connection they have with those emotions, it is very, you see, you do not have in the common parlance or in the common humanity. No, it's not. It is the talent. You are blessed that it is a talent, it is the faculty God has given you. In different situations, people do not have the ability to experience those emotions, but only, you see, if you have read about T.S. Eliot and all, he has talked about the intensity of emotions, or the if you have read about this Wordsworth, he has said that it is the spontaneous or full of powerful feeling. Everybody cannot have that spontaneity of powerful feelings. Anybody cannot. So these two are the element that one derives from nature. These are the two precondition. These are the two precondition to any creative expression. One has to have a great soul. One has to have a virtuous person. Virtuous means, in Aristotelian sense, goodness. I'm not talking about goodness in today's term, because in corporate world and all that, people have done certain practical things, and you say, yes, gentlemen, you have done a good job. But this is not a good. What goodness is there? Goodness means morally good. I'm talking about ethically good. So one has to have this greatness of lofty cast of mind. Nature is a lofty cast of mind. It is, but it's not it's not something that you get from any kind of training. So he admitted it. Longinus admitted it. These are the two preconditions for any creative act or for any creative writing. But now, if one has these two preconditions, if one fulfills these two conditions, then there are three other sources which art basically helps these two sources, nature, in achieving the sublime expression. The third, now I'm talking about the third, fourth, and fifth. Basically, these three sources have been given by the art. Basically, I would third is a certain artifice in the employment of figures. Fourth, dignified expression, and fifth, majesty and elevation of structure. You see, all these three basically refers to the composition. How, whatever occurs to your mind, now how do you express it? Whatever occurs to your mind, whatever is there, whatever feelings do you have, whatever experiences do you have, I'm sure as an elevated mind, as an elevated soul, you have great thoughts. But do you have the ability to express those thoughts with the same greatness? So this is very important. So these two sources are very important from the creative or creativity, from the point of view of creativity or creative expression of human being or human life, in human life. These are very important sources. So I would not uh, discuss these things in detail because this is not my basically the subject of my talk. Basically, I just want to give you an idea of of the of the concept of creative writing as a subject, as it has been propounded and discussed in ancient times, in ancient treatises, and how it has been developed, and how its core or its soul has been captured by the philosophers of ancient times. So, and one, if you see, it doesn't matter. I once I was listening to a uh, to a program on a radio program. Uh, a blind girl was being interviewed by 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 an RJ. She was a performer. She was a music teacher, and he asked her, what is your opinion about the art, about the learning of music, the art of music, or like this. So she this is how she answered. She answers like this. She has said, whatever art, whatever skill, whatever craft you want to learn, first you need to touch its essence. You need to understand, you need not understand, but you need to touch, you need to feel, you need to have a sense of its essence, and then you can perform in whatever way you want to perform in that art. Suppose first you want to be a dancer, you need to understand the essence of dance, and then you can perform in any form of dance. If your body doesn't know, if you do not understand, if you do not have a sense of dance, you cannot perform. So this is very important. You see, if we are talking about the creative writing, the concept of creative writing, we have first we must have a sense of what is the soul, what is the essence of creative writing. And it has been philosophized. I have already told you by the philosophers. And if you do not have a sense of what is creative writing, and how it has been discussed, how it has been philosophized, it doesn't matter what kind of training are you getting from anywhere. In today's universities, people, students are very enthusiastically registering themselves for such kind of programs in universities, private and public universities, not only in India but outside India also, for creative writing. I'm doing a course on creative writing, but I have never seen, I haven't seen this, the fundamental concepts of creative writing. Even I have attended a couple of lectures by 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 professors from the field of creative writing, and I was curious to know what kind of concepts, what kind of content they want to give, they want to disseminate, they want to speak on the creative writing. I didn't find really. Creative writing is imaginative. What is the meaning of imaginative? You see, yeah, it's a vague concept. It has already been imagination. Is a in 19th century biographia literaria, the concept of imagination has already been philosophized and discussed upon in detail and very empirically by I'm sure you are aware of Suresh, biographia literaria by
Yes, sir.
college.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
ST College. So
Yes, sir.
what is the nothing new, nothing new. It's a everybody knows it. Imagination, it is one of the faculties, and it's not one of the faculties, rather the best faculty of the human personality. Everybody knows, but what are the epistemologies of imagination? if you talk about the epistemology of imagination, then I would agree. Yes. So that this is the point which I would like to make, which I have planned to talk in this talk. So uh, uh, apart from this my discussion of sublime and the creative writing, now how much time do I have? I don't know. Uh, Pavanji, Pavanji, are you there?
Yes, sir.
How much time do I have?
Sir, we can go for 1 more hour, sir.
Oh, 1 more hour. Okay. But I don't know. I'm not sure whether I would have that much content with me, but it's
No
okay.
issue. Then we can conclude in the one session, sir. We can sum up in another half an hour, sir.
Okay, sure, sure. So, as far as sources of creativity, are concerned, in Indian tradition, we have a special or specific text that has discussed this area or this subject in detail. We have 9th century AD text Rajshekhar's Kavya Mimamsa basically. In Kavya Mimamsa, we have 18 chapters. In those 18 chapters, we have we have a specific chapter that basically discusses on the sources of creativity. And you see, this is how it has been started in you see, verbal discourse. What do you see in any kind of expression is basically runs through a discourse, and of course, verbal discourse, linguistic expression. Verbal discourse is known in India as Wangmay. It is Vani is language basically. Language, the language is the source of everything, and we have a deity basically uh, specific to this language, which is called Saraswati. Saraswati is the mother of all discourses, language. So it is verbal discourses. That is why it is known as Wangmay. Wangmay means from Vani. It is verbal expression. So all types of discourses, verbal discourses, basically divides into two: Shastra and Kavya. Basically, Shastra and Kavya. We do not have any confusion between Shastra and Kavya. We do not have. In Western tradition, there is a lot of confusion is there, because they have confused sociological, political, philosophical text with rhetoric and poetics and literature, and so much confusion has been created. Yes, but in Indian tradition, we do not confuse Kavya with Shastra. Because why? Both Kavya and Shastra, both are discourses of knowledge. We know that. Shastra also provides knowledge, Kavya also provides knowledge. But the nature of knowledge differs. Shastra basically further subdivides into two: Purushesha and Apurushesha, human and divine. Apurushesha means smritis, shrutis. All the Vedas are shrutis, and smritis. These are shrutis are the revealed knowledge, basically revealed knowledge, and smritis are the memory-based knowledge, basically. So this is how all the shastras have been divided. So like 4 Vedas, 6 Vedans, and four Upveds. So these are basically 14, and 50 these are the 14 branches of knowledge, and the 15th branch of knowledge is Kavya, basically. 15th branch of knowledge is Kavya. But unfortunately, these all shastras are incomplete without the aid, without the supplement of Kavya. This is the understanding in Indian tradition. So you see, I was discussing about the nature of knowledge. Shastras basically also conveys or disseminate knowledge. They also conveys, communicate, or are the forms of knowledge in textual forms. But what kind of knowledge do they convey? This is referential knowledge. They refers to all shastras, sciences, all shastras or sciences. They refers to the referential world, referential knowledge. But kavya refers to experiential knowledge. That is experiential knowledge, and that experiential knowledge basically captures in a single term that is called ras. That is called ras. You see, we have in Indian intellectual tradition, it has been defined. The purpose of life has been defined, clearly defined, like uh, dharma, arth, kama, moksha. These are the four ends of life that has been captured. But how do you get to those? How do you get to these four ends of life? You see, this is a clear cut sequence. Dharm is not a religion. Please do not translate it as religion or any kind of uh, uh, or group or religious group. Please, dharm is the cosmic law, nature. It is the platonic platonic this ideal, this supreme ideal, basically, which governs the whole creation. This is the dharma. This is called dharma. Like uh, the what is the dharma of fire? What is the dharma of fire? What is the dharma of water? पानी, आग का धर्म जलाना है. You see, I'm speaking in Hindi. जैसे like आग का धर्म जलाना है, वो किसी में डिफरेंस नहीं करती है, डिस्क्रिमिनेट नहीं करती है कि ये गरीब है, ये अमीर है, या ये छोटा, ये बड़ा, मैं इसको कम. नो, it sticks, it remains true to its dharma. That is why पृथ्वी और all heavenly bodies वो अपने धर्म पे हैं, इसीलिए पूरी सृष्टि यूं की टिकी हुई है. ये इसीलिए ये सब this is called dharma. Earth is the, you see, the whole shrishti comes under earth. Whatever existence in the form of matter is there is called earth. Calm means whatever is inside you as a life in the form of basic instinct is calm. So both these two types of existence, one is outside you, one is inside you. Both these two types of existence are there only if you follow the path of dharma, and only then you can get the moksha. This is how it's a whole structure of understanding. But how do you get the sense of all this? Only when you see, in kavya nothing is said directly, because it does not refer to the referential world. So whatever is said, it is in the form of metaphor. It is aesthetically conveyed, not to tell you something, but to make you feel something. Like if you understand, like after in 3000 ago, how does human being behave when in a specific situation of fear? In a specific situation of fear, how does human being behave? The human being behaves in the same way as it had been behaving in 3000 years ago. No difference. आज भी उतना ही वैसे ही रोना आता है, आंखों से आंसू ही आते हैं, डर में आदमी का रंग पीला ही हो जाता है, पहले हरा नहीं होता था. सेम है. No difference. So this is why this is called the experiential world. So that is why in the literature or in Kavya, nothing is new, nothing is old, because the experience, as far as the experiential form of knowledge is concerned, it does not change with space and time. It does not change with space and time. So this is how it has been discussed. But these two forms of knowledge have not been confused with each other, because in Kavya, you see, no social, political, economic or cultural statements are valid or validated. If you look, for certain socio-political, cultural realities in a in a literary statement, now the fault is with you. It is not the fault of the statement, of the text. So, and as far as our understanding or the whole cognitive system is concerned, we have defined it in four stages. These are man, buddhi, chit, or antakaran. Man means the mind. I'm sure all of you are aware of this. This is the master switch. Then the buddhi. Buddhi is intellect. Intellect. What is intellect? Intellect is the faculty of discrimination. Faculty of discrimination between what is good and what is bad, what is right or what is wrong. So what is not, what is profitable and not profitable? No, but to discriminate between what is right, what is wrong. This is called buddhi. This is the faculty of discrimination. Discriminate between what you should do, what you should not do. Your buddhi tells you. So chit is the consciousness. Chit is the consciousness. So when you touch something, your mind sees something, then your mind basically asks your buddhi what to do with this experience. Now your buddhi will discriminate whether you should take this way or that way. And now whatever decision your buddhi takes, it creates an everlasting impression on your chit, on your consciousness, and these are called sanskars, impressions. So these impressions basically becomes internalized or internalized, antakaran, and that knowledge, the forms of knowledge becomes, it does not remain a form of knowledge, rather it becomes you. It becomes a part of your being. It becomes a part of your being. So this is the basically the whole the whole structure of the cognitive system in Indian intellectual tradition, in Rajshekhar's Kavya Mimamsa, he has discussed. And next, in the next chapter, in the fourth chapter, he has discussed five concepts, just like on the sublime, Longinus is on the sublime. He has said that three concepts are very important for any creative writing to take place. First is pratibha. Pratibha is the innate faculty that you are born with. You cannot get pratibha from any kind of training from outside. You have to have pratibha. But pratibha is of two kinds. He subdivides it into two. It is of two kinds. One is karyatri pratibha, another is bhavyatri pratibha. Karyatri means creative faculty. Bhavitri means critical faculty. Like, one becomes a good teacher, one becomes a good coach, but cannot become a good player. In the same way, Bhavitri Pratibha is there. One becomes a very good player, but cannot become a very good coach because of the Karyatri Pratibha. So Pratibha is there, but it is of two types. One is creative, another is critical faculty. Second is abhyas. Abhyas is the continuous and uninterrupted practice. It is very important. It is very important. You have to do or continuously doing put yourself doing the same thing time and again, and after some time gradually you become master of it. It is very important. Pratibha is abhyas is very important, but it is next to pratibha. Abhyas is training, it comes through training. Third is vyutpatti. Vyutpatti is very important. Again, vyutpatti is the third element of creativity or creative imagination. Vyutpatti is the knowledge of the world. It is the knowledge of the world. Whatever you know, whatever you understand about this lock, about this world, your social sense, your economic sense, your political sense, your cultural sense of life, all types of senses that you acquire in your life. Of course, you acquire through pratibha only, because it differs. Your senses are differs, because living in the same house under the same roof, two person may not have the same kind of social sense, same kind of political sense. Why? Because of the difference in pratibha, innate faculty. You have been given the same environment, you have been given the same socio-political environment, you have been given the same conditions, but the result is different. Why it is different? That simply means something which is inside you basically determines the whole outcome. But unfortunately, we as teachers, as trainers, as scholars, we always focus on the outer conditioning. Like I have seen people, थोड़ा सा हिंदी में बोल लूं? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes,
No
sir.
problem, sir.
थोड़ा सा हिंदी में बोल, जैसे अभी मान लीजिए किसी का बच्चा कोई आईएएस में आ गया, तो उसकी इंटरव्यू छपती है अखबार में, तो लोग उसको पढ़ते हैं, ये कौन से स्कूल से पढ़ा था, ठीक है, उस स्कूल में लाइन लग जाएगी, जाके सभी अपने बच्चों को उसी स्कूल में पढ़ाना शुरू कर देंगे। किसी का बच्चा ओलंपिक में मेडल ले आया, तो ये पूछते हैं ये कौन से कोच के पास था, ये किस एकेडमी में था। आप देखते हो सडनली रातों रात वहां भीड़ लग जाती है। बिकॉज वाई, ये जो जितनी फिट जी और ये कोटा ट्रेनिंग कोचिंग ये जितनी भी चल रहे हैं जी के लिए, ये क्या नाम है, डॉक्टरी इंजीनियरिंग, जो भी है, ये जो भी हो रहा है, ये क्या है, वाई दिस एलिमेंट क्यों है? क्योंकि वो प्रतिभा को नहीं पहचान सकते, वो उससे कोई मतलब ही नहीं रखते हैं, उन्हें ये पता भी नहीं, इस बात पे फोकस ही नहीं है, 1% भी नहीं है, 1% भी कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं करता है, लेस देन 1% कंट्रीब्यूट करता है आउटर एनवायरनमेंट। लाइक कौन सा भी ग्रंथ पढ़ लेना, अपना हिंदुस्तान का पढ़ लेना ना या वेस्ट का पढ़ लेना, ये मैं बता रहा हूँ, क्रिएटिविटी की बात है। आप 2 पेड़ लगा दो थोड़ी थोड़ी दूर पे, एक जैसा हवा, एक जैसा पानी, एक जैसी धूप, सब देना, आप देखना 2-4 साल बाद दोनों का अलग ग्रोथ होगी। क्यों? क्योंकि समथिंग विच इज इनसाइड इज डिफरेंट स्ट्रक्चर है अंदर का, अंदर की प्रतिभा अलग है, अंदर का क्रिएटिव एलिमेंट अलग है, जो रिस्पॉन्ड करता आउटर एनवायरनमेंट को, उनका रिस्पॉन्स अलग अलग है। लाइक मान लीजिए मैंने एक केला खाया, अब मेरी बॉडी ने वो जो बनाना है उसमें से हो सकता है किस तरीके से रिएक्ट किया मेरा मेटाबॉलिज्म ने, आपके बॉडी के अंदर हो सकता है वो हजम ही ना हो, तो केले में प्रॉब्लम थोड़ी ना है। आप समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात को? तो ये बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है जो क्रिएटिव एलिमेंट है। मैं प्रतिभा की और व्युत्पत्ति की बात कर रहा था। तो व्युत्पत्ति जो है ये द नॉलेज ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, बेसिकली नॉलेज ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, समाज का ज्ञान, समाज के बारे में ज्ञान होना उसका, वो भी ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है। हालांकि ये ट्रेनिंग, ये इट्स अ मिक्स ऑफ ट्रेनिंग एज वेल एज द, you see what kind of exposure do you get into society, that depends basically. लेकिन इसके साथ साथ आपकी प्रतिभा पे भी डिपेंड करता है, ठीक है। इसके अलावा दो और कॉन्सेप्ट बताए राजशेखर ने, एक बताया समाधि, कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ माइंड, और तीसरा और पांचवा बताया काव्य शक्ति। काव्य शक्ति बेसिकली कृत्र रूप है, और प्रतिभा और व्युत्पत्ति काम रूप है। कृत्र रूप और काम रूप में भी अंतर होता है। कृत्र रूप का तो मतलब होता है एजेंटिव है वो, ठीक है, एजेंट ऑफ एक्शन है। और प्रतिभा और क्या कहते हैं, वो आपको एबल बनाती हैं उस काम को करने में, तो ये काम रूप कहते हैं इसलिए इनको। तो एज यू सी these text basically discusses the whole idea of creativity and the creative expression, and these are the basic fundamentals of creative expression. And if you want to work, if you want to do research, if you want to say something creatively, so you need to focus on these basic fundamentals of creative expression. Otherwise you can't. You see, talking about imagination, have you seen imagination? How do you control, how do you understand, how do you structure imagination? Do you have any idea? Talking about imagination is कल्पना से होते, कल्पना किसी ने देखी कैसे होती है, उसका पूरा स्ट्रक्चर देखा है? कहीं कोई ग्रंथ पढ़ा है उसमें, है कहीं? ये ऐसे बात करने से मेरा मतलब ये है, जो क्रिएटिव राइटिंग है उसके जितने भी मैंने सब्जेक्ट जो पढ़े हैं उसके बारे में देखा सुना, मुझे कोई कंक्रीट बात, कोई कंक्रीट फिलॉसफी कुछ मतलब मुझे लगा नहीं। सो मैंने सोचा कि मैं इस बारे में आप लोगों से बात करूंगा, तो आई थिंक थोड़ा सा मुझे लगा कि हो सकता है कि I may make some sense. I don't know whatever I have said, how much of it you got, but it was just a performance, with just an attempt, and with these words I would like to stop here, and of course I would like to know if you want to ask me, or if you want to give any comment, so you are most welcome. So over to Pawan Kumar ji. You are the moderator of the session, so please, most welcome.
Ji, thank you so much, Professor Ajeet Singh ji, for this wonderful deliberation, and we are really grateful to you. And participant, if you have any observation, any doubt, or something related to us, you may ask, or you can also type in the chat box, please.
नमस्कार सर।
जी बलराम जी प्लीज।
सर जैसे हमने जो आपसे सुना, मतलब हमने भी पढ़ा है इसको, जैसे 3 काव्य के इसमें प्रतिभा व्युत्पत्ति के बारे में बताया है, तो सर कहीं ना कहीं व्युत्पत्ति का काफी महत्व तो होता है। जैसे हमने अभी देखा, अब हम अभी का उदाहरण लें तो किसान आंदोलन जब से शुरू हुआ तब से लेकर के अभी तक 100 से ज्यादा गाने आ चुके हैं, तो उसका व्युत्पत्ति का कहीं ना कहीं योगदान तो होता है सर उसमें, कि भाई जो परिस्थितियां होती हैं उनके हिसाब से कवि जो होता है वो काव्य रचना की ओर प्रवृत्त होता चला जाता है। तो इस बारे में कम ज्यादा हो सकता है उसका महत्व, लेकिन आप क्या समझते हैं कि उसका कितना महत्व हो? प्रतिभा, देखो प्रतिभा तो होती है, वो तो जन्मजात में गिनी गई है जहां तक मैंने पढ़ा था, लेकिन व्युत्पत्ति और प्रयास का भी महत्व होता होगा, या क्या कुछ है आपकी इसकी राय?
नहीं, मैंने अभी आपका बिल्कुल मैं आपका सवाल बिल्कुल समझ गया। तो जैसे आप कह रहे हो भी, मैंने ऐसा बताया है कि अपनी बात में भी, जैसे वेस्टर्न टेक्स्ट का मैंने एग्जांपल दिया कि भी प्रकृति और कला दोनों चीजें, ट्रेनिंग और आपका टैलेंट, दोनों चीजें होनी जरूरी है। अभी जैसे आपने अभी एग्जांपल बताया, अभी जो कलाकार हैं, जो रिसेंट जो पॉलिटिकल सोशियो पॉलिटिकल हैपनिंग जो हो रही है, एक सर्कमस्टांसेस है, उसमें वो स्टिमुलेट हुए। लेकिन आप ये देखिए, जो संवेदनशीलता थी, क्रिएटिव इमेजिनेशन कहते हैं ना जिसको हम, वैसे तो सबके सामने हो रहा है ये, हम लोग भी देख रहे हैं, बट I'm not able to say something creatively on this. Only those persons, those कलाकार, the artist, they have that ability. एक तो एक बात ये है, ठीक है, ये एक तो यहाँ पे ये डिफरेंस है। दूसरा व्युत्पत्ति, मैंने बताया आपको, व्युत्पत्ति बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है। व्युत्पत्ति मतलब नॉलेज ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, जो जितने आप संवेदनशील हो अपनी सराउंडिंग्स के प्रति, जितना भाई आप समाज में क्या हो रहा है, आपके जीवन में क्या हो रहा है, आपके राजनीतिक जीवन या सामाजिक जीवन, आर्थिक जीवन में क्या हो रहा है, उसके प्रति जो संवेदनशीलता है आपकी, वो बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है। वो संवेदनशीलता हालांकि डिपेंड करती है आपकी प्रतिभा पर ही, मैं तो ये मेरा मतलब ये है। लेकिन जब मान लो आप हो तो संवेदनशील, लेकिन रहते तो जंगल में हो, तो कैसे होगा, बनेगी नहीं ना बात। आप समझ रहे हैं ना मेरी बात? तो सोशल एक्सपोजर ऑफ द वर्ल्ड इज इंपॉर्टेंट, but the intensity and the amount of knowledge that you get out of your exposure totally depends upon your ability. ये बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है। जैसे आपने मतलब ये बताया, बड़ा अच्छा सवाल था। वैसे ये सोचना चाहिए हमें भी कि जो कुछ हो रहा है ये हमारे सामने हो रहा है, सबका अलग अलग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है इसको लेके। मतलब ऑफ कोर्स सभी अलग अलग तरीके से देख रहे हैं, तो एक कलाकार कैसे देख रहा है, और उन कलाकारों में भी मैं आपने 100 गाने जो बताए वो भी सभी एक तर्ज पे नहीं होंगे, सबका अलग अलग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू होगा।
जी सर, 100 से भी ज्यादा कुछ।
हाँ, मतलब ये क्रिएटिव एक्सप्रेशन है, बेसिकली ये क्रिएटिव एक्सप्रेशन है। आप कैसे फील कर रहे हो, आपके अंदर कैसे संवेदनशीलता है, आपकी संवेदनाएं क्या है उसके प्रति, हाउ डू यू रिएक्ट। अब वो तो सर जिसमें है वो उसमें है, वो उसको वैसे ही बोलेगा। फिर मेरा मतलब ये है। तो बलराम जी, आर यू सेटिस्फाइड? आई डोंट नो।
जी, एनी अदर पार्टिसिपेंट? जी, सुरेश जी, would you like to say something?
Yes, sir. I just want to ask something about the subjective writing and objective writing. You were talking about, sir, that every creative writing is a subjective writing, that it comes out from an individual who is alive.
Yes.
So okay.
Yes.
So can there be any objectivity, or can it be objective in some sense? Because always it is subjective, because it has comes out from an individual. So I feel that it can also be an objective writing, because when it acquires the timelessness, agelessness, the writing which becomes transcendental, which crosses the boundary of temporal boundary. When it becomes ageless, timeless, then it acquires the objectivity. There are certain expressions, like simple expressions like honesty is the best policy, little knowledge is a dangerous thing. These are something which are very subjective. They must have been expressed by some individuals. They were subjectives. But when they came in the public domain, and when they acquired the timelessness, because these things do not belong to a particular age, particular person, particular time or space. Now they have become universal. They have become timeless, ageless, spaceless, transcendental. Now I do feel that they must be called as objectives, because they have acquired some objectivity. So I just want to have your take on this, sir.
हाँ, सुरेश, अभी मैं समझ गया। जैसे आपने बोल लिया, मतलब क्वेश्चन इज कंप्लीट। ओके, सो क्या है कि आप दो चीजों को थोड़ा सा, आपका सवाल जो है मिक्स कर रहा है। एक तो जो सब्जेक्टिव और ऑब्जेक्टिव का जो ओपोजिशन है, डाइकोटमी है, एक तो हम इस पे बात करते हैं। दूसरा, टेम्पोरल और स्पेशल जो बाउंड्रीज को क्रॉस करती है, वो चीज वो सब्जेक्टिव और ऑब्जेक्टिव के डोमेन में नहीं आती है। आप समझ रहे हैं? That doesn't come under the domain of subjective and objective. Subjective and objective के डोमेन में चीजें क्या आती हैं कि सब्जेक्टिविटी का मतलब होता है where there is a consciousness, जहां चित्त है, चेतना है, वही सब्जेक्टिविटी है। यानी कि मैं क्या कह रहा हूं, this I'm touching this table, बस मेरी उंगली को तो मुझे पता लग रहा है कि टेबल को मैंने टच किया, बट टेबल को नहीं पता लग रहा है। क्यों नहीं पता लग रहा है? क्योंकि इसके अंदर चेतना नहीं है। और जहां चेतना है वो तो सब्जेक्ट है, ठीक है। क्या चेतनाहीन इंसान हो सकता है? आपको लगता है कोई चीज जिंदा है जो वो चेतनाहीन हो सकती है? नहीं हो सकती है। और जो जहां चेतना है वहां तो सब्जेक्टिविटी, वही तो सब्जेक्टिविटी और क्या होती है? सब्जेक्टिविटी इज द फॉर्म ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस, फॉर्म ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस ही तो है ना। तो एक बात तो ये है, और अगर आप किसी संदर्भ में, किसी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में अगर आप ऑब्जेक्टिव से ऑब्जेक्टिव होने की कोशिश भी करोगे मान लो, तो वो भी आपकी एक सब्जेक्टिविटी का एस्पेक्ट है। You want to say that you are above all kinds of considerations, socio-political and personal and all that. जो आपने कहा वो हर एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट में सही है, हर एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट में। तो आप अपने आप को ऑब्जेक्टिव पोज कर रहे हो ना, बिल्कुल, तो वो भी आपकी सब्जेक्टिविटी का तो पार्ट है बेसिकली। आप समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात को? तो ये जो डायकोटमी है सब्जेक्टिव एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव, ये बेसिकली एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती है। ये हमने डिस्कशन के लिए, या जिसको मैं कहूँ, ये आजकल हर चीज का डिस्कशन हो गया है, हर चीज एक सब्जेक्ट बन गई है, पता नहीं क्या क्या सब्जेक्ट बन गए हैं, वही बात है। तो उसमें कुछ ना कुछ तो चाहिए इनको, ठीक है, कुछ ना कुछ कहने को। लेकिन एसेंशियली अगर आप देखोगे, एसेंशियली देयर इज नो सच काइंड ऑफ डायकोटमीज डू नॉट एग्जिस्ट। लाइक गरीब और अमीर, हम कहते हैं गरीब और अमीर, these dichotomies exist only in a specific economic situation. When you look at something, because this dichotomy between rich and poor, it has been created in the Western economic theoretical framework. Indian theoretical framework में गरीब और अमीर नहीं था, नहीं है। Like मान लीजिए ओनली इकोनॉमिक टर्म्स में गरीब और अमीर हो सकता है आपके पास बहुत पैसा बट यू आर नॉट अ हैप्पी पर्सन। आप समझ रहे मेरी बात को? बट लाइफ की तो बहुत सारी डायमेंशंस हैं, जरूरी नहीं है सिर्फ इकोनॉमिक एक वन ऑफ द डायमेंशंस में से एक है। आपका जो एग्जिस्टेंस है, आपका जो अस्तित्व है, आर्थिक उसका एक पहलू है, उसके दूसरे पहलू बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट पहलू हैं, और वो पहलू इस डोमेन के अंडर नहीं आते हैं। आप समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात को? Being happy doesn't mean you must have all wealth, all kinds of wealth. Being a happy person doesn't mean you must have lot of wealth, lot of fortune. One can be happy, and hundreds of examples are there. लोगों के पास बहुत पैसा है लेकिन वो तो खुश नहीं, पूछ के देखो उनसे। मैं वैसे बता रहा हूं आपको। तो आप जो कह रहे हो, तो मैं, ये बड़ा आर्बिट्रेरी डिवीजन है। मैंने कहा ना, जैसे मैंने कहा एकेडमिक राइटिंग और क्रिएटिव राइटिंग में क्या अंतर है। अब एकेडमिक राइटिंग क्या होती है? पहले तो राइटिंग क्या होती है? राइटिंग होती है किसी भी फॉर्म ऑफ नॉलेज को टेक्स्ट के रूप में पेश करना, किसके लिए? किसी को एजुकेट करने के लिए, यही होती है एकेडमिक राइटिंग। किसी भी फॉर्म ऑफ नॉलेज, किसी भी फॉर्म ऑफ नॉलेज को टेक्स्ट के रूप में पेश करना, किसके लिए? टू एजुकेट, शैक्षणिक पर्पज के लिए। शैक्षणिक क्या होते हैं? शिक्षा देना लेना, यही होता है ना, ठीक है। क्रिएटिव राइटिंग का क्या पर्पज होता है? आप समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात को? ठीक है। क्या कोई राइटिंग विदाउट क्रिएटिव एलिमेंट लिखी जा सकती, कोई टेक्स्ट क्रिएट किया जा सकता है? तो ये जो डायकोटमी, ये बड़ा आर्बिट्ररी डिवीजन है। ये समझ के साथ नहीं, इसमें कोई समझ नहीं है, मुझे समझ नजर नहीं आई। आप समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात को? वैसे कहने को तो कुछ भी कह लो, डिवीजन तो बना रखा है, बना लो, किसी तरह का डिवीजन बना लो। सोसाइटी में बड़े डिवीजन्स क्रिएट कर रखे हैं और उसका कोई एंड नहीं है, ठीक है। तो ये डिवीजन्स जो हैं, ये एंडलेस प्रोसेस है, ये कहीं तक चले जाओ आप। जब मैंने बताया ना, वेस्टर्न इकोनॉमी ने रिच एंड पुअर, फिर रिच एंड पुअर में डिफरेंट क्लासेस क्रिएट होगी, डिफरेंट क्लासेस में डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स ऑफ लाइफ, डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस क्रिएट होगी, और समाज उतना ही बढ़ता चला गया। आप देखो कितना कहाँ तक आ गया। लेकिन एसेंशियली तो कोई डिफरेंस है नहीं, वो तो हमें भी पता है इस बात का, ठीक है ना। तो ये
there is a writer you have read it, T.S. Eliot. in his wonderful essay in traditional and individual. T.S. Eliot, sir.
T.S. Eliot. Yes,
In his wonderful essay, Tradition and Individual Talent, he talks about the objectivity that a writer, a writer should have the talent. No doubt he has his own individual talent, but at the same time, he must go beyond his individuality, his own personality. He must acquire the objectivity. When he talks about acquiring this
नहीं, ऑब्जेक्टिविटी की बात नहीं करता वो, मैं थोड़ा सा बीच में रोक रहा हूँ, आई एम सॉरी।
Okay,
वो पता क्या है, वो क्या कहता है, वो इन ट्रेडिशन एंड इंडिविजुअल टैलेंट, यानी कि परंपरा और व्यक्तिगत उत्कृष्टता, हिंदी में बात करते हैं थोड़ा सा, ठीक है। जो व्यक्तिगत उत्कृष्टता है वो परंपरा से अलग नहीं हो सकती है, वो ये कहना चाहता है उसमें। अगर आप परंपरा में रह के काम करते हो, आप समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात को, तो ही आपकी उत्कृष्टता का कोई मायने है, उसके मीनिंग है, उसका अर्थ बनता है। यानी कि आप कहते हो कुछ नई बात, तो नई पहले पुरानी का पता करेंगे तभी तो नई होगी ना कोई बात। आप समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात को? पिछले राइटर्स ने क्या कहा, मेरी बात समझ रहे हो? तो वो हिस्टोरिकल सेंस की बात करता है उसमें। ट्रेडिशन बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट शब्द है इसमें, और ट्रेडिशन के साथ साथ तो एक हिस्टोरिकल सेंस होनी बड़ी जरूरी है, कि क्योंकि हिस्टोरिकल सेंस होगी तभी तो नए समय को आप बदल पाओगे ना। पुराने का नहीं पता है तो कैसे, एक सेंस नहीं है तो फिर कैसे? तो उसमें वो इंडिविजुअलिटी की बात वो उस सेंस में नहीं है
सर। उसमें ऑब्जेक्टिविटी के लिए वो एक एग्जांपल देता है एक रॉड का, कि आप उसको किसी उसमें एक सॉल्यूशन बताता है, वो उसमें रखते हैं तो वो अपनी जो इनहेरेंट जो उसकी क्वालिटीज है वो नहीं खोती है। तो यही कहना चाहता है कि हमें ऑब्जेक्टिविटी ये है कि जो बाहर का जो हमारा वातावरण है हम उससे बिना प्रभावित हुए जो लिखते हैं। टी.एस. एलियट ये बात कहना चाहता है उसमें।
नहीं, वो थोड़ा सा अब मैं आपका पॉइंट भी समझ गया। पता है क्या है, वो देखो तीन बातें करता है वो उसमें, तीन पार्ट है उस ऐसे कि तीसरा जो पार्ट है आप उसकी बात कर रहे हो, पोएटिक प्रोसेस लास्ट में, ठीक है, कि क्रिएटिव प्रोसेस कैसे होती है। क्रिएटिव प्रोसेस वो ये कहता है कि कवि को अपने पर्सनल इमोशंस को एक्सप्रेस नहीं करना चाहिए। आप समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात को? और पर्सनल इमोशंस का उसके जो एक्सप्रेशन है उसके ऊपर असर नहीं आना चाहिए। और वो एग्जांपल देता है ये इसका केमिस्ट्री का, वो जो एक सल्फर डाइऑक्साइड की वो जो होती है ना, अच्छा उसको दो गैस रख लो आप उसमें, वो देता है, ठीक है। तो वो बेसिकली वो ये कहना चाहता है, वो ये नहीं कहना चाहता कि कंप्लीट ऑब्जेक्टिव। अरे आप मुझे एक बात बताइए, है तो वो जो इमोशंस आ रहे हैं वो कभी किसी जिंदा आदमी के दिमाग में ही आ रहे होंगे ना। ऐसा तो है नहीं कि वो कोई रोबोट है, ऐसा तो है नहीं कि ऐसा कोई फॉर्मूला हो कि किसी के दिमाग में भी ऐसे इम्पर्सनल इमोशंस आ जाएं। वो ये कहना चाहता है आपका काव्य, आपका एक्सप्रेशन जितना इम्पर्सनल हो सके उतना ही अच्छा है। वो ये नहीं कहता कंप्लीटली अचीव कर, वो तो हो ही नहीं सकता है, वो तो इम्पॉसिबल है, क्योंकि लिखना इंसान ने है, सोचना इंसान ने है, उसके दिमाग में आई है बात। वो ये कहना चाहता है इम्पर्सनल थ्योरी ऑफ पोइट्री, जो क्रिएटिव एक्सप्रेशन है जितना हो सके वो उतना इम्पर्सनल होके लिखो। और उसने तो एक बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट बात कही थी इसमें, उसने ये कहा था, वो शायद आपको याद भी होगी कि there is no qualitative improvement in art but its matter never remains the same। जो सत्य है ना, जो सत्य है वो हमेशा से सत्य है। वो 3000 साल पहले भी वही था और वो आज भी वही है, उसमें कोई चेंज नहीं आता। लेकिन वो तो एक्सप्रेस होगा, लेकिन हो सकता है शब्दों में उसको एक्सप्रेस करने में अंतर आ सकता है। तो ये कहता है इसके अंदर, बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट बात है ये। तो जो क्रिएटिव एलिमेंट है ना, जो क्रिएटिविटी है, वो यही कैप्चर कर रहा है इसके अंदर। जो सत्य है, जो सत्य है उसको कैप्चर करना है, वो that remains the same। and with your expression, with your creative expression, if you can make your listener, your audience, your friends feel or a sense of that truth, that means you create a difference in their lives। it's a form of knowledge। ज्ञान ये थोड़ी ना है आपने दो चार बता दिए, ये तो इंफॉर्मेशन है। सूचना में और ज्ञान में बड़ा अंतर है, ये बड़ा अंतर करके चलना पड़ेगा। हमने सूचना में और ज्ञान में बड़ा अंतर है। इंफॉर्मेशन, a lot of difference is there। information is there, information means the data, whatever is there, but can you create any form of knowledge out of that information? That is where creativity is required. यहां पे आपकी क्रिएटिविटी की जरूरत है. इंफॉर्मेशन, सब जगह इंफॉर्मेशन है. आपके पास मोबाइल है, ये है, सब कैन. आप मुझे एक बात बताइए, आपको क्या लगता है, आपके पास मोबाइल है, मोबाइल में घड़ी है, घड़ी में आपने नैनो सेकंड तक का आपके समय आपका पता कर सकते हो क्या? ये जो इंफॉर्मेशन आपके पास, डज इट मेक यू मोर पंक्चुअल? 2 जनरेशन पहले के लोगों के पास तो घड़ी भी नहीं होती थी, तो क्या लगता है आपको उनको समय पे उठना नहीं आता था? आपके पास सारे गैजेट आ गए समय बताने वाले, तो आप ज्यादा पंक्चुअल हो गए हो. सिर्फ इंफॉर्मेशन है. दूसरी बात, उन लोगों के पास तो ज्ञान का वो स्वरूप था कि वो समय को जिया करते, उनकी बॉडी खुद बता देती थी कि कौन सा पैर चल रहा है. और अभी मुझे कोई पूछे ना क्या समय हो गया, मैं पीछे घड़ी में देखूंगा, क्योंकि मुझे बॉडी को नहीं पता कितना समय हुआ है. और जो बॉडी को नहीं पता वो ज्ञान नहीं है, वो सूचना है. बस वो सूचना पास करनी है एक दूसरे को. बिकॉज वी डू नॉट फील दैट, वी डू नॉट हैव अ सेंस ऑफ टाइम. आप समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात को? तो क्रिएटिव एलिमेंट यही तो है, सूचना को ज्ञान में परिवर्तित करना है. यही क्रिएटिव एक्सप्रेशन, और क्या है? एकेडमिक राइटिंग को आपने डाटा लिख दिया, मान लीजिए मैंने बता दिया आपको, सपोज आई हैव टोल्ड यू ऑनेस्टी इज द बेस्ट पॉलिसी. मान लीजिए मैंने बता दिया आपको ये बात, तो ईमानदार बन गए आप. इज इट एनफ टू मेक यू ऑनेस्ट पर्सन? डू यू फील? आपको लगता है, मान लीजिए मैंने कहा कि भाई जिंदगी में ईमानदारी सबसे अच्छी नीति है, तो आप ईमानदार हो गए. इज इट एनफ फॉर यू? डज इट अफेक्ट यू एनी वे? No, because it was just an information, in the form of information, an abstract statement. मैंने कहा 12 बजे हैं, कैसे कहा? देख के कहा, मेरी बॉडी को नहीं पता. 4 जनरेशन पहले लोगों के पास घड़ियां नहीं होती थी, लेकिन उनका जीवन व्यवस्थित था. आप क्या सोचते हो, उनको समय पे नहीं खाना आता था, समय पे टहलना नहीं आता था, या समय पे अपनी दिनचर्या नहीं थी? खूब थी, हमसे ज्यादा पंक्चुअल थे. लेकिन ये सारी इंफॉर्मेशन है. दिस इज ऑल इंफॉर्मेशन. मैं ये बताना चाहता था, जो क्रिएटिव एलिमेंट है, क्रिएटिविटी और क्या है? क्रिएटिव एक्सप्रेशन. कि आप इस सूचना से, ये जो सूचना आपके चारों तरफ है, किसी भी फॉर्म में, बुक की फॉर्म में, आपके पास मोबाइल से, या ये जो डाटा है, क्या आप इसका आउट ऑफ दिस डाटा कैन यू क्रिएट ए फॉर्म ऑफ नॉलेज? कैन यू एक्सप्रेस इट क्रिएटिवली? So that the person who receives it, who experiences it, you see, changes. ठीक है, तो कुछ बात बने, नहीं तो बातें बतानी है, वो तो कितनी कर लो, उसका क्या फायदा है? वो तो हम करते ही. भाई ज्ञान का भाई टीचर का, भाई आप समझिए कि एक सिंपल सी बात है कि ये आजकल की जो फिलोसफी है, ये जो बीएड करवाते हैं ना, ये आई डोंट बिलीव इन दिस टुडेज पेडागोजी एंड एजुकेशन मेथोडोलॉजी वेयर द रोल ऑफ टीचर हैज बीन रेंडर्ड और स्केल्ड डाउन टू ए फैसिलिटेटर. कहते हैं ये तो दलाल है? ऐसा कहते हैं. ये तो फैसिलिटेटर दलाल होता है ना बीच में, मतलब जो फैसिलिटेट करवाता है किसी डील को. नो, क्योंकि सूचना अवेलेबल है, लेकिन उस सूचना को ज्ञान रूप देना, उसके लिए क्रिएटिविटी चाहिए, और वो टीचर के अंदर होती है. दिस इज द रोल ऑफ द टीचर. टीचर क्रिएट्स नॉलेज आउट ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, एंड इन द फॉर्म ऑफ नॉलेज you imbibe. You do not learn, your students imbibe. और ज्ञान अगर किताब में ही होता तो फिर आपकी क्या जरूरत थी? ज्ञान अगर इंटरनेट पे होता है तो फिर आपकी क्या जरूरत थी? सभी इंटेलिजेंट, सब ज्ञानी होते. आप समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात को? फिर क्या जरूरत है? ये गीता, ये महाभारत, ये इलियड, ये ओडिसी 3000 साल से आज भी 2% लोगों को भी नहीं पल्ले पड़ती. और अगर पल्ले पड़ जाती तो ये ऐसे लड़ते मरते हर रोज कोई किसी के नाम पे कत्ल करता, कोई किसी का घर को आग लगा दी, ये ऐसे होता फिर? ये दिस इज द रियल प्रॉब्लम। तो यहाँ पे ये क्रिएटिव एक्सप्रेशन है, क्रिएटिव एलिमेंट, मैं उसी की बात करना चाहता था। ये बातों में ये आई डोंट नो, मैं इस बात पे आ नहीं पाया अपने टॉक में। मतलब बेसिकली दिस वाज माय सेंट्रल पॉइंट। तो ये नवीन जी बोल रहे थे क्या?
जी
हाँ
सर।
जी नवीन जी। तो ये दिस वाज माय पॉइंट।
ठीक है सर, समझ गए हम आपकी बात को।
चलो
समझ
भाई, धन्यवाद नवीन जी।
जी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। Now I would like to invite Mr. Naveen Lohat to deliver vote of thanks.
जी सर। A very good evening to all. I, Naveen, Assistant Professor of English, Government College Dujana, feels immense pleasure to deliver vote of thanks for this session on behalf of HRDC BPS University Khanpur. I would like to thank Dr. Ajeet Singh for his erudite talk on the topic of creative expressions. I hope his lecture will prove beneficial for all the participants in this in their academic life. His knowledge in the field is really appreciable. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence, sir. Sir made us acquainted with various facets of creative writing. He introduced us to various philosophers, Indians as well as Westerns, and we got to know about various critical texts regarding creative writing. We are also thankful to Director HRDC, Dr. Shefali ma'am and Pawan sir for arranging such a useful talk. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Naveen ji, for your kind words for the resource person as well as for the organizing team. And once again, thank you so much, Dr. Ajeet Singh sir, for sparing your valuable time and the wonderful deliberation. We are grateful to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Namaskar.
Pawan ji. Thank you, Pawan ji, and thank you all for giving your precious and time and attention to my talk. Thank you all. मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगा आपसे भी बात करके।
जी नमस्कार सर, शुभ दिन।
नमस्कार, thank you
sir.
Okay, bye.
जी आप सभी पार्टिसिपेंट का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।